Hey everybody, Chips here. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I suppose the few of you who've stopped in to watch this have probably wondered where I disappeared to for the last several months, which is a fair question and one that I'm hopefully going to answer in this video for you. I wanted to make something real short and sweet, an explanation of everything that's happened, why I was gone, everything that's happened in that time, and my plan for this channel going forward from here. I know I've said it all before, and it definitely doesn't help to go MIA for almost a year. I mean, jeez, my last video was in November? Eesh. But I am sorry that it's taken me so long to return. With complete radio silence since then and now, I'm sure there's a few questions for the few of you who've stopped in, and I'll try and do my best to answer them. With my last video being in November of last year, I'm not counting those little shorts that I uploaded in July. That was me getting back into editing. It's definitely been a hot minute since I've put out any content worth any substance. Even my Twitch streams dropped off significantly after that point. I'm not even sure when my last stream was, but I know it wasn't long after that final video was posted. I'm pretty sure it was for Crocman's birthday. Anyways, this deflation in my content creation, if you can call it that, was the result of a combination of multiple factors that killed both my drive and desire before I even managed to get it off the ground. Though I've had some experience with streaming over the last few years, there was something about the prospect of trying to start a YouTube channel that it seemed insurmountable. It's something I've always had the desire to do, and I always had all these grand ideas for what I wanted to accomplish and what I wanted to put in videos. But yet, none of them seemed to fit in with the timeline I'd given myself to work. Granted, I know I only put out 2 videos before things dropped off, but I will be honest, I did have a lot of ideas that I was excited to put forward. I found myself with a laundry list of tasks that I told myself I needed to accomplish, yet it felt as though I was constantly adding to my list but never crossing anything off. As my frustrations with myself grew, I continued to feel terrible that I was not delivering on my promises. My job at the time was also having issues, which definitely did not help. The tipping point of it all was when some medical concerns with my girlfriend occurred. Life has a funny way of throwing a wrench into the plans you've made, and it loves to pick a time when it's most inconvenient to do it. That incident brought all my plans to a halt as I switched gears to focus on what was happening right in front of me. It was no longer about making videos and streaming. Now I needed to make sure I took care of myself and my girlfriend. The end of my 2022 could have been summed up into a simple question: what now? The good news, though, is that the medical concerns ended up being relatively benign. We were both worried at first, but after some doctor visits and treatment, we realized that everything was going to be okay. For a while, though, we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be, and that made me quite worried. I'm a worrier by nature, so the idea of the unknown had my mind working overdrive to try and plan for every possible scenario, and that left me feeling pretty drained. This did not help my work situation, which, as I mentioned earlier, was beginning to have problems. I worked a mid-shift, 3 to 11, at a manufacturing plant that operates around the clock. Being a manufacturing plant, you can imagine that things in there get a little messy, especially if it's been a busy day and we've had a lot going on. Now, normally, you clean your work area at the end of each shift, things like take out the trash, remove dumpsters and pallets, yada yada, which we would do. However, spring and summer are the busy seasons for that place, and it can get pretty dirty in there after a long day. And you might find a trash can that wasn't taken out, or maybe a container that wasn't quite put away yet. It's pretty normal when it gets that busy. And usually everyone's pretty understanding about it. You know, it can be a very difficult day sometimes, so I'll help you out this time, you help me out next time. Everyone was all okay with each other. Until the shift after mine began to complain, and saying that we were purposely leaving things a mess for them to clean up. They would find the smallest, most benign infractions to complain about, and they began to target specific employees on my shift, saying that they were not performing their jobs to the standards that we are required to follow by policy. And we tried to push back against their dissatisfaction, But it quickly boiled down to a he said, she said situation, because they kept saying we had no proof, and it was our word against theirs. And unfortunately for us, they had some friends in some high places. And I won't go into the details of the aftermath of it, but it culminated into a very unpleasant situation for all of us on mid-shift. Needless to say, we were not happy. And that situation, combined with a bunch of mandatory overtime that they were shoving down our throats for this quote-unquote busy season, it really started to wear on me. It felt like we were fighting a losing battle every single day, and all you could do was show up and take the beating. Because of those circumstances, I began to get lazy. I felt like I couldn't escape what was going on, so whatever free time I had started to feel like a retreat. I couldn't bring myself to work on videos because after a long day at work, I didn't want to do anything else. All I wanted was to come home, play a few games, and go to bed. It was no longer about having fun with my friends or making videos or any of the other stuff that initially brought me joy. Now it was about escaping everything else that was going on. I stopped going to the gym, and I could overall feel myself sinking down into this loop of just getting up, going to work, coming home, sleeping, and repeat ad infinitum. My weekends started to pile up with all the errands that I couldn't bring myself to get done during the week. And I knew I was falling into this trough, yet I couldn't seem to break myself free from it. The more I struggled against it, the more tired and worn out I felt. I know a lot of this sounds like excuses, and really it is, but at the time, I could not get myself up and out of it. I kept trying to pinpoint the source of whatever was making me feel so deflated, looking for anything, and I couldn't realize that it was my very own inability to take action against it. Had I acted sooner, maybe it wouldn't have taken me so long to get back on track. But let's be honest, it probably still would have. However, in the time since then, things have started to change. As the lease on my apartment came to an end, I looked forward to moving into the house that I currently live in. I switched jobs, and now I do something that's a lot less stressful for me. And you see, the reason for moving was quite simple. Change of scenery. I had to get away from all the bullshit. You see, one of my friends was finishing his college program, and he was looking for some roommates to help split the cost of rent while he searched for a job. My girlfriend and I were looking for a new place to stay, especially considering my apartment building had had an active shooter in it around Christmas time. But that's a story for another video. I, as I mentioned, was looking for a new job, so we decided that these three end goals happened to line up perfectly. So let's become roommates. The bills are a lot easier to handle between three people. And with a new job, there's much more breathing room for me to work on videos and personal projects, now that I work on day shift and not mid shift. Granted, I still find myself being a bit lazy at times, but I do feel overall that I have more freedom to get the things done that I want to get done. And I'll admit, it's a confidence booster to be able to start accomplishing tasks that I've put on my to-do list. And now that I'm finally getting settled into a routine, I can start to devise a schedule around it. It'll be a bit of an adjustment to get back into the swing of things, editing, putting out videos, and all of that, but I'm confident that once I start getting going on this, it'll start to fall into place as I get a better picture of the workload and how it's going to fit into my work schedule with my new job. That being said, there are a few caveats. I'm not going to dive into this head first with no plan. It'll be slow going at first, but gradually grow larger on down the line. Though I can still remember most of my process for editing videos, there's still a lot I have to learn. I can't give you a definitive timeline right now because each video is still a work in progress. Even making this video took me a lot longer to cut up and put together than I thought. Ideas and designs seem to change in between editing sessions. Something that I think looks good during one session, it looks tacky and weird the next time I boot up the computer. I'm doing my best to find that balance between showing you guys the important pieces of information of the story versus cutting it in a meaningful way so that you can still get all the information you need and it makes sense, but it doesn't take an hour to watch. I know some people say not to sweat the details too much, but at the same time I want to make sure that I'm getting this formula right, that I'm finding that happy medium between gameplay and important information. It also comes down to my ability to record games and provide meaningful commentary on what's actually happening. It means nothing if I just babble on forever and you guys don't know what's happening. If none of this rambling makes sense right now, don't worry. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense even as I write and read this. My second point, though, which will make a little bit more sense as it ties in with the first, is that I'm reapplying the focus of the direction that I want to go. Now, those first two videos that I put out on Cyberpunk were a bit of a challenge for me. I do enjoy Cyberpunk 2077. I think it's a fantastic game, and I think it has great gameplay and good storytelling. But I never did finish the game. By the time the anime came out and it became a topical point of interest for a little bit, I had only gotten through roughly 2/3 of the game on my first playthrough. I wasn't even really fully familiar with all the controls, and I'll be the first one to admit I'm not the most savvy player of all time. And so because I was struggling to get the hang of the user interface, combined with the fact that I picked a different beginning than on my initial playthrough, it made for a very strange editing sequence where I found myself struggling to both edit and play because I really had no idea what I was doing in each regard. But now I've got a better idea what I'd like to do for my videos, and in turn how I can edit them, which is throwbacks to yesteryear. I have a decent little stockpile of old games for my PlayStation 2 and my PlayStation 3, roughly around 80 some PS2 games and maybe 60 PS3 games. And these range from well-known titles like Medal of Honor and early Call of Duty games to some more hidden gems such as the Driver series or ATV Off-Road Fury. I've held on to these games all my life, both for the nostalgia factor and for the fact that I enjoy antique, yeah, trust me, I want to kick myself just for saying that, things that stand the test of time. I remember playing these games when I was just a young kid, and my friends often joke that I'm an old man in a young man's body, and I've decided I'm going to fully embrace that. I love these old games, and so my idea is to record them as I play them so that I can shed some light on the history of the game itself and showcase some old video game features that might interest younger viewers or viewers who are not aware that these games had these things. And it might even provide some context as to how we've arrived at the current gaming industry that we see around us today. You can kind of get a glimpse into some of the features that early games might have had that have influenced the development of some things that we now see commonplace in the gaming market. Now, this doesn't mean I'll ignore modern games. I will still certainly showcase modern games and playthroughs of them, and even do some streams of them, but perhaps in a more relaxed manner. I'm definitely not the best gamer out there, and I have never tried to lay claim to being such. I will certainly showcase modern games and all of that, and maybe bigger streams here and there, where you can be a bit more interactive and maybe even join me in playing, but I don't know if I'll do full breakdowns of them because, to be honest, I'm just not that skilled to be able to accomplish that in a meaningful time frame. My third and final limiter that I'm going to set for myself is that I'm going to take my time. I know it sounds simple and vague and a little weird, but let me explain. As I move through and create these videos, ideas about how I want to portray the content will invariably change. As I said before, the videos are going to come slowly at first as I work my way into a comfortable groove. I want to make sure that as I release these videos, I'm providing a good experience for you, the viewer, as well as honing my own skills in the proficiency of actually making them. Which means I'm going to be poring over these videos until I feel I have them absolutely perfect. So until I know I'm at a point where I can comfortably jump into new or foreign ideas without sacrificing quality, I'll be moving along rather slowly. Of course, if you guys have any criticisms about anything I do or any ideas you think I should try, please let me hear them. I'm a big boy who puts on his own Huggies in the morning. I can handle whatever you guys throw at me, and I'm always looking for ways to improve. Now I know, it's been a long time since you've last seen me, but I vow that I really am making efforts to change that. I've already started working with one of my good friends to help him create a podcast, so I'm going to use those efforts as a bit of a springboard to launch myself into this video creation process. I can bounce ideas off of him and get feedback on what he thinks I should do. And that way I can use that effort in my own video creation, so that I can give you guys interesting things to watch, be it on your daily commute, after school, after work, or whenever you have free time. I'm also doing this for selfish reasons too. I've always had an enjoyment for video creation. I was in a film studies class in high school that I absolutely loved, and in a way this lets me continue to discover new things to design and create to bring to you guys. I know I'm not the best at it at the moment, but this is something that I've always enjoyed doing, and I want to see myself be able to do something with it, if for no other reason than to be able to say I created that. I hope you guys are willing to join me on this journey, but if you're not interested or you find you don't want to watch anymore, that's okay too. This is something that I want to enjoy the journey of, not just the final destination. It'll take quite a while for us to get there, so we might as well enjoy the ride. Well, that's all I have for this video. We've now reached the point where I will do a short synopsis for those of you who didn't want to sit and listen to the whole thing and skipped ahead to this point. Bitch, 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 moan, 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 whine, 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 excuses, 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 yada-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, we're back! Alright, that's everything that I wanted to pass on to you guys in this little video. So if you decided to stick around till the end, thank you very much! If you have any thoughts, ideas, or criticisms you'd like to share, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below. I'll be working on my first video very soon, so I hope to catch you in the next one. And take her easy now.